Well, today we're going to do a little bit more extensive tour of some of our sabal palms, and we're going to start out here with a sabal palmetto. And today we're going to give a little bit more technical info on some of the palms and show you what makes each palm unique. And we're mainly going to discuss today some of the sabal palms that would grow in the colder areas, which is mainly going to be our sabal minor, Sabal brazoriensis, Sabal palmetto, which is more for like zone 8A and up, so around Atlanta and south. And so this is our Sabal palmetto Moxville, and this palm we've had for quite a few years here, and grown it from just a little palm, and it's starting to get a pretty good sized trunk here. And this Sabal palmetto here, you'll see the fronds are strongly costopalmate, which means they curve a lot, and that's one of the features that makes palmetto what it is. It's native to the United States, and it's the state tree of Florida and South Carolina. And as you'll see here, one of the things that separates the palmetto or makes it ID from some of the other sabal palms that you have is each segment here, this is a leaf segment, is joined equally from the bottom here, and each segment is joined at about 35% from the bottom here. Now, on some other palm species, some other sabals, you'll have these leaflets joined in groups of 3 or 2, and that means it's probably some other sabal palm. And generally these sabal palmettos have about 15 to 30 fronds when they get mature, and they generally will not bloom until they get a little bit of trunk, several feet of trunk is generally what they do. If it's blooming when it's little bitty like this one back here, it's probably a sabal minor or something else. And the sabal palmetto will have strong filaments, which means these little hairs which are coming out from between the leaflets. And generally it'll have like a whole bundle of these on the end once they get large like this. The fruit, which is the, not to be confused with the seed is once you peel off the outside of the fruit, but the fruit of the palm is generally about 8.1 to 13.9 millimeters, and that's going to be smaller than some of the other palms you see, like a Mexicana and or something like a rosei, or some of the other sabal palms that you have that are not as hardy as this one. Like we said, good to grow without protection from about Atlanta and south, and up from there, beyond there, like us in Tennessee and 7B, they're going to get a little more difficult to maintain over the winter. Some winters they may get hurt. They generally take down to about 10 degrees pretty well. They're generally going to do better in areas where they receive a lot of heat. All the sabal palms like a lot of intense heat and humidity. And as long as they're growing well, they're going to like plenty of water. And so anyway, there's your sabal palmetto. And we'll go on and take a look at the next palm we have. And here's one of our regular size sabal minors. And this sabal minors come in all different sizes, from dwarf, which we have, which is usually gets less than 2 feet tall, to we have Louisiana, which is currently about 7 feet tall or a little bit more. But older sabal minors can get really tall, 9 or 10 feet, and sometimes can form a little trunk, but in general, unless it's an old specimen, they have their trunk underground, a subterranean trunk, and you can generally identify them at a younger age when they're this size and when they don't have a trunk. If you see a palm that has a large arching bloom stalk over it, we cut this one off, so I don't have it right now, but that is a very good indication that you have a sabal minor. There's just very few rare cases where it's not a sabal minor. If it's down like this size and it doesn't have a trunk, it could be a cross like a brazoriensis, or it could be a unnamed cross that they have. There's probably a lot of unstudied crosses between a palmetto and a minor that are out there, and of course that's what a brazoriensis is. But when you look at these palms, they have a lot of identifying characteristics that are a little different than, especially like the palmetto that we just looked at. The fronds on these are not costopalmate. They're not curved. They don't do that kind of curve like this. And the fronds, they generally don't have any, not a lot of fibers. Sometimes they'll have a few, but not a lot. And the bigger these palms get, they'll start to form a little bit of a costopalmate frond, but it's going to be a very weak. All these fronds, generally they have a split that's right down the middle. Right in the middle, it goes all the way down here. It's one way to know them. And the petiole is generally going to be very short on these palms. It's not going to be like most of the trunking palms. When they're this size, they start to have the long petiole, and the fronds start extending up quite a bit. And on these palms, kind of like the palmetto, these are going to have smaller fruit. The fruit on these is going to be 6.4 to 9.7 millimeters, which is a fairly small fruit. And the only other thing that sabal palms that do not form a trunk, or at least a large trunk, that you might need to distinguish these from is the miamiensis, which in that case it's got to form a lot larger fruit. Those are going to be 14 to 17 millimeters in size. And the Etonia, which is going to have more of a yellow-green frond than this one, and the bloom stalks are going to be shorter than the fronds. And so that's the only other ones that you might confuse with this palm. And but in general, for us cold hardy palm growers, the sabal minor is the one you're going to want. And these palms, especially the regular size ones like this and the smaller ones, they take down to about 0 Fahrenheit really well. And below 0 Fahrenheit, since the trunk and the growing points in the ground, they're generally going to come back still. So you can grow these anywhere from about zone 6B now with the updated zone ratings, as long as you want to plant them close to a house, especially in 6B on the south side. Up through in zone 7B like us here now, it's, you know, they do very well because we don't have very many winters that go below 0. But anyway, there's a look at your sabal minor. And one more thing we can talk about here is that you can identify some of the palms with is when they get to be a mature palm, they have these, each one of these is called a segment. And so these segments here, they're generally the ones that are more showy, like the more costopalmate palms, like a palmetto. They have more segments, obviously, because they're folded, they have a lot more. But on these sabal minors, generally you have less than 40. Now, they can go up a little bit more than that. In general, on the Sabal minors, you're only going to have like 5 to 10 fronds, whereas the palmetto and some of the other palms, obviously, you're going to have a lot more. So anyway, there's another way to know about those. Well, today we're going to do an educational series on a palm we have here, and take a look at where this palm come from. And so deep in the bottomlands of southeastern Texas, there's a palm with a mystery. And here we're going to meet Sabal brazoriensis. Out in the wild, this is a towering wild palm. It's so unique that scientists believe it may be a rare hybrid and possibly a brand new species. So we'll see what they found. In Brazoria County, Texas, scientists noticed that something was strange. Among all the small, trunkless Sabal minors that were around, they noticed that there was a palm that was growing much taller. Some of these palms were growing over 30 feet tall. And the fronds that they had, they were different than some of the other palms around, shaped larger and just a little bit more strange. So let's see what they did. At first, everybody just thought it was a large version of the local Sabal minor, but due to the shape of the fronds and the size of the trunks, scientists just didn't really know what it was. At first, everybody thought it might be a cross with a local palm in Texas called a Sabal mexicana. And so they set out to figure out what this palm could be. And here's part of what they found. And so to get to the bottom of this genetic code and crack it and see what the answer was, botanists went out and used a method called AFLP. And just think of that as a genetic fingerprinting for plants. They compared the DNA from this new mystery palm with 3 nearby palm species that they knew about. They compared it with Sabal minor, Sabal palmetto, and Sabal mexicana. And so what scientists found was very surprising. This new mystery palm had bits of DNA from the Sabal minor, which we see here, and also the very popular the large trunking palm, the Sabal palmetto. But it didn't have hardly any, just very little, from the Texas palm, the Sabal mexicana. This meant that the new palm was likely the result of an ancient hybrid between Sabal minor and Sabal palmetto. So scientists determined that this likely was not a one-off hybrid, and they think this population of palms has been reproducing on its own for generations and forming a stable population with consistent traits. And so this makes this palm more than just a one-off hybrid. It could be a brand new species, and as of, I believe it's 2011, this is now recognized as Sabal brazoriensis. And fewer than 300 of these palms are known to be in the wild. All of them are found in a small part of Texas. Thankfully, they're now protected. They're in the San Bernardino National Wildlife Refuge. And part of them are in a wilderness area around a lake, and part of them are in something called the palm unit of that refuge. And so that's where these palms come from. And here's a look at some of our other sables we have. This is our Sabal Birmingham. You'll see that this one doesn't have a whole lot of fibers, and the petioles are pretty short, and it's starting to form a trunk down here. And it's not blooming, so it's going to be a pretty large palm. It's getting very stocky, I guess you could call it, compared to our similar sized, if you look over here, Sabal minor, which this Sabal minor is pretty big, but when you compare it over here with the Birmingham, this one's a lot larger. Anyway, there's those two. And here's another Birmingham over here I don't show very much. This one's gotten killed back a couple times in the winter. The other one we protected a couple times, the reason it's so much larger. This one's hadn't had as much protection. You can see it's gotten hurt. So it's always a good idea to protect those palms if it's going to be pretty bad. It got hurt when we had these years of below zero, which was very rare for us. But you can see it's making a comeback. It likes this heat. There's another one of our Sabal Birminghams. And here's yet another Sabal Birmingham I have tucked away. Don't show this one very often either. And it's not, this one got knocked back a little bit too. It used to be pretty big. It took a little bit of a setback, but it's hid over here in one of our corners. And over here we have one of our little tiny Sabal minor dwarfs. About 2 foot tall maybe. And you look back here, it's got some seeds on it here. Almost completely covered up by our fronds from our waggy palm. You can see there's a frond from a waggy palm, and down here's a teeny tiny Sabal minor. There's a good size difference. And here's our big Louisiana. It's clocking in at about 7 feet tall. Pretty big palm. Frond on this thing is pretty huge. Pretty huge. I can't get my hand in there. I can't reach back that far, but there you go. There's the trunk down here now. Anyway, that's the tour for today, and of some of our sables. We have a lot of Sabal minors around and that sort of thing, so you don't see all of them, but hopefully I gave you a little bit of information. And looks like the weather's cooling off a little bit. It's August 1st here, so things maybe will settle down. We've had very high 90s every day and rain almost every day, but we'll see you later.